Love is dead and second wave feminism killed it. Wow, what a topic. This is really just basic, it's deep, it's profound in a way, it's sad, profoundly sad, deep and profoundly sad, really. But I believe in the West, we've exchanged love and intimacy for sex. we just have. It's interesting to note how easily people are led and brainwashed to believe lies, and I think the devil is in the details, really. And I mean that literally, like the devil literally influences people through details that they miss. People have a hard time dealing with nuance. People really have a hard time reading between the lines. Something that I've noticed a lot with, the current trends as far as particularly liberalism and the left versus the right dichotomy, which is what, for some reason, people have just started this, left-right dichotomy, politically. Of course, how can a country be united and stand strong when people are cut right down the middle between political, ideological differences? It's just silly. It's just like, hey man, let's just all be united. Let's just figure this out. But you can learn a lot from that, because it's like, why are people led? Why are people led like that? Why are people influenced to be stupid enough to choose one side? And it's tribalism, right? It's like, I hate your city because your baseball team, beat my baseball team. So I hate you and I hate your city. You see that. Well, maybe not baseball so much, but more like football, but probably baseball too. I don't know. I don't really follow baseball, but I know some football cities, they hate each other, right? They hate each other, the fans, to the point where they'll fight and beat you up just because you like another team. It's just stupid. It's like, hey man, we're all in this together. We live in the same country. So just because you're a liberal and this person's a Republican, so you hate each other, it's just stupid. That's what it's becoming. And it's like, you got to take a step back and look at it and think why? Why are people this stupid? Why are people this, lemming-minded, easily led to where they can't use nuance to think that, hey man, the left-right dichotomy is stupid. We're all Americans. We need to be united. You look at that and you think, man, no wonder so many women, were led astray by feminism, second wave feminism and third wave feminism, really. Now, I made a comment, or I thought of something recently, which is that I don't have a problem with first wave feminism. And I've said this over and over again. This is something I've always maintained throughout my entire red pill awareness, awakening, etc., speaking, everything I talk about. I've always maintained this. I don't objectively have a problem with first wave feminism. I don't. No issue with first wave feminism objectively, on paper. It's okay that women can vote. It's okay that women can work. I don't have any issues with women having freedom, socially, personally, whatever. What I have an issue with is women not taking accountability for their actions and blaming men. What I have an issue with is, women not having any social responsibility for their actions. That's what I have an issue with. I have an issue that women will do things such as, go be a slut or get pregnant or, have abortions or, spread STDs or, gaslight men, hurt men, and use men for sex and use men for relationships, use men for our money, be hypergamous and be gold diggers and all these nasty negative things that we talk about in the red pill community, right? Because that's all the red pill community is. It's not just a bunch of incels who are mad because we can't get laid. We're mad because women do these things and get away with it. There's no social agency. There's no social accountability, because if we say something about it, we say, hey, wait a minute. We don't like that there's sexism in the court system. We don't like that women are getting less jail time for committing the same crimes that men are committing. We don't like that women are, automatically deemed innocent and automatically deemed victims socially and, judicially. We don't like that women, all these things. We don't like how women are favored in the family court system, paternity cases and child support and child custody, all these things that we have issues with, which are for real sexism, right? For real sexism in the court system, which is what women are always complaining about and saying, oh, we're oppressed, sexism, blah, blah, blah. Yet they don't say anything when women are favored, right? These are all things that we have issues with, which women are not addressing. Women are not taking accountability for these things. These are the issues that we have, right? So for people to say that, oh, we just hate women, like, no. We don't like the bad behavior. We don't like the double standards. We don't like the lies. That's all. So when it comes to first wave feminism, like, I have no problem with that. Again, what I have a problem with is the double standards. What I have a problem with is all the other shit. Like, what happened when we gave you your freedom? What happened when we said, yeah, you can be free. Yeah, you guys can do this. You guys can work. You guys can vote. What happened? What did they do with that freedom? This was my thought earlier. Yes, objectively, I agree. Women should have freedom. Women should have freedom of choice, freedom of expression. Yes, you can have the freedom to go be a slut. You can have the freedom to sleep around, right? But here's the thing. There's going to be consequences, right? There's going to be consequences, and they don't teach you that in sex ed. The only consequences they teach you in sex ed, again, are not social, not personal, not mental or emotional. But the only consequences they teach you in sex ed, which, by the way, is too young, right? You shouldn't be teaching kids sex ed at 12. Maybe 14, 15. That's the perfect time, right? 14, 15. Not 12, okay? So this is what they teach kids in sex ed, which is use a condom. You could get pregnant, or you could get STDs. Like, I don't know how much that soaks in, I really don't. To me, it's almost like, I think I learned about this stuff in 6th grade. To me, it's almost like that really just makes you want to have sex. Like, because before that, you're thinking, what's sex? I don't even know what that is. And then all of a sudden, your teachers are telling you about sex, and you're like, oh, I want to try that. Because you're too young. You don't know any better. Same with like DARE. DARE, dare to keep kids off drugs, right? All that did was make me interested in drugs. I was like, wait a minute. You guys are telling me I shouldn't do something. You guys are telling me something's bad. I kind of want to try it now. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like other people think that as well. Now, again, I think it's too young, 12 years old. I don't, like 14, 15, when they start having sex naturally, which is like 15, 16, they start trying to experiment. Yeah, that's when sex ed comes in. Well, hey, if you're going to start doing this, you need to understand there's going to be consequences. But again, they don't teach you the social consequences and the personal and the mental and the psychological and emotional. They don't teach you those consequences, right? So yeah, you can have freedom, but there's going to be consequences. And here's what women have done with those consequences. They blame men. Right? And so when I say second wave feminism killed love, right? What do I mean by that? Well, here's what happened with second wave feminism. Second wave feminism was all about free love, all about my body, my choice, right? Second wave feminism was all about removing that stigma, that social stigma and spiritual stigma behind, premarital sex, right? Oh, you can go have sex. It's your body, your choice. And then, of course, Planned Parenthood, 1973, was introduced right alongside second wave feminism. Hello, we got a winner. Is that a coincidence? Or is that planned? To me, that's planned, right? Somebody's social engineering, whether it's our overlords in the shadows, right? The secret puppet masters who are pulling the strings behind the scenes, or maybe it's just the devil. I don't know, but there's been a lot of negative shit since 1973. In my opinion, our country has gone down, right? From my observations, our social moral fabric has gone down since second wave feminism, since the 1970s, which is when second wave feminism came about, and the civil rights, 1965 to 1980 or whatever, that whole period of transformation and change, whole new country from the 1950s and 60s and 40s, 50s and 60s. We got a whole new country. All that we valued was uprooted, changed, right? Progressivism, new age bullshit, right? It's all part and parcel with this promiscuity, right? With this premarital fun. And I just see so many women who are just lost in the shuffle. They're lost in that world. They're lost in the world of the lust, right? And the reason why earlier I compared this to like the liberalism movement is because when people have no moral rudder, when people have no moral foundation, they're easily led astray. They're easily lied to, Now, with that said, is there issues with the patriarchy? Is there issues with male leadership? Is there issues with police, right? Is there issues with the government, capitalism, right? Is there issues with inequality, classism, right? Oppression, financial, social, career oppression, so to speak? Yeah, there's all that, man. Like, those things are real things. And this is why something like liberalism was even thought of. This is why something like feminism even came about, because there was issues, right? But here's the thing, maybe this radicalism, these radical ideas are not really the answer, right? Maybe we just need to change the system as it is within the system. Change the system within the system, right? Don't necessarily try to create a whole new system, because that new system might be worse than the old system. Maybe there just needs to be some tweaks and some adjustments here and there, right? Within capitalism, within, a world that was built by men. Now, with that said, is this system totally reprehensible? No, absolutely not. It's actually a pretty good system, right? It's a good system. Is it totally blameless? Hell no. There's all kinds of blame in a lot of ways. Like, we need police reform. In my opinion, we shouldn't really be paying rent. Like, that's a form of oppression, right? Landlords, like, what the fuck is that? Like, oh, it's not enough that I gotta work, for my food. I also gotta work to pay rent. Like, it's weird to me. Like, that system, like, oh, okay, you can just own a piece of land. Like, even though we all own the earth, you own a piece of land because you're the government. Like, what? Like, I never understood that. Like, why can't I just go build my own fucking house? Yeah, maybe it'll be a piece of shit shack, but I did it, right? Maybe it'll be a piece of shit shack, but I fucking own it. I'm not in debt for the rest of my life to pay a mortgage to the fucking government that's supposed to be for the people, by the people. That's supposed to be, you know what I mean? Like, what a weird mind fuck when you think about it. Like, yeah, we're the government, we're for you and we're by you, but yet you owe us money. Like, wait, what? If you're for me and by me, I don't owe you shit, because I'm not paying you. I pay myself. I work for myself, not for you. But I gotta work for you to pay this fucking rent, this concept of rent that you thought up. Like, that doesn't mean I'm a liberal. That doesn't mean I'm a socialist. That doesn't mean I'm radical left or whatever. It just means I don't want to fucking pay rent. And on the flip side, like, when it comes to this concept of the patriarchy or male chauvinism or male leadership or whatever, like toxic male leadership, like, hey man, men just got shit done. Historically, men built the earth. Now again, like, is there some things that I don't agree with? Like, I think we should have laws. I think we should have government to make sure everything runs smoothly. But where I have a problem is maybe I don't want to pay taxes, or maybe I don't want to pay rent, right? Because maybe I feel like those things are infringing upon my rights. Like, you could make the argument and say, well, okay, well, you could never build a house that's as good as the houses that these house builders built. Like, okay, well, then I won't pay a house builder $75K to build this nice house. Maybe I'll just build myself a shack for $20K, or maybe I'll just, save up and buy a trailer. Like, I understand buying something, but when you say buy land, like, wait, what is that? Like, who owns the fucking land? We all own the fucking land. So why do I have to buy a piece of land? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me, right? So, when it comes to feminism, it's just like, or second and third wave feminism, like, these things are, and it's the same with liberalism and this leftist socialist communist concepts. These are reactions to imperialism. These are reactions to capitalism, right? Which, kind of, you can argue and say those things are exploitative. Those things exploit the worker. Those systems exploit, and you could make a good argument for that. But when you think of like the free trade, or when you think of like the free market, right? That comes into it, like that, everybody's buying and selling and trading. There's a free market, right? Well, that sort of has to do with capitalism. And then what you have with government in a capitalist society is what they call regulation. And there's a lot of like little evil shit like taxation and stipulations and charges within there and all these laws and fucking, licenses you gotta get and things bonds and insurance and all this bullshit that to make it legal or whatever, that really, do you really need all that shit? I don't know, man. Maybe. But you can see where people will, look at that, how you doing? And say, no, I don't want that. That's not That's not what I want. That's not, that system is fundamentally oppressive to me. That system is fundamentally leeching off of me. And so you can apply that to feminism, and you can say, well, this is what women think. They think, I don't want to go work in your kitchen. I don't want to be your maid, right? And so they say, well, I want freedom. I want freedom to do what I want, to express myself, right? So, in a sense, like, you got to say, like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. All right. Now you could make the argument that, well, you being in the kitchen, you being my wife or whatever, and supporting me and raising the children is a good exchange, because I'm paying your rent, right? And I'm being the leader of the family, and I'm taking on all the responsibility, I'm taking on all the risk. And on the flip side, you would have landlords say that, well, I'm taking on all this risk and blah, blah, but, it's arguable, because what risk are you really taking if the tenants trash the house? They're still going to get charged for that, and you're not going to give them a good recommendation, so that's going to hurt them. Are you really taking a risk? Also, you got home insurance, right? I don't know, but as far as equating that to marriage, like, as far as marriage is concerned, like, the man is the one who's doing most of the stressful stuff, as far as, like, he's got to work. If he doesn't work, if he doesn't wake up, he loses his job, you lose your house, you're on the street, you're homeless. The whole thing is out the window. So you can understand, in a sense, why women would want a man who has his stuff together, so that doesn't happen. In a sense, right? You could see it. And this is one of the biggest things that I talk about in my videos, is if the man doesn't have money, why would the woman, stick around? That's not love, right? However, on the flip side, you got to look at it and say, well, if he didn't have money, how would you survive? If he didn't have money, if he wasn't strong enough to wake up every morning and go to work, how would you pay the rent? How would you survive, right? So you gotta take all that into account. But again, at the end of the day, it's like, hey man, love is beyond physical necessity. Like, if you wouldn't go homeless with your man, like, I don't think you really love him, right? I think that you just really want his security. That's what I would always fall back on. But you got to look at all the angles, and you got to take those things into account. But, again, love is killed, second wave feminism, because promiscuity kills love. Because promiscuity has really nothing to do with love. And it's been proven again and again that women who sleep around a lot can't pair bond. Women who sleep around a lot have damaged character, have damaged morals. And I really believe that. And I think that, again, this whole system, when we're talking about the red pill, this whole system comprises the matrix, right? And when we're talking about the red pill, these are all things that I talk about. And the reason why, this is important is because I feel like all these things taken as a whole are really just kind of exploitative to men, right? Because we're the ones who are expected to put up or shut up. We're the ones who are expected to bring home the bacon. We're the ones that are expected to have our shit together. And if we don't get love, we don't get respect, we don't have a family, we don't get sex, right? So it's just like Chris Rock said, only women and animals, only women, children, and animals are loved unconditionally, right? Men have to bring something to the table. We have to work, right? We have to. If we don't, then we're nothing. We get nothing. We're nothing. You are not respected or appreciated or loved in this world as a male if you don't bring anything to the table. You're not. So taking all that I just talked about into consideration, right? That is the bottom line crux of things. Women will always be viewed as worthy and worth it just so long as they're female. They will always have worth. They will always have importance and be appreciated just for breathing. Now, do women still do good things? Yes. Do women still raise good children? Yes, it happens. Do women still work and have good careers? And are women still respectable? Yes. Is every woman out there a slut? No. Many women are married. Many women are faithful and loyal. But it's not all, and it's not, I don't know how to put it. It's very popular to just take it easy and be a slut and have fun, and it's not fashionable, right? To, hey, go be a traditional woman, go work, go have a nice house, go, take care of your garden, take care of your kids, clean, love your husband, right? These things aren't really fashionable. Look at the magazines, look at, the TV shows, listen to the music that young women listen to, right? How can they have a good head on their shoulders? How can they have love? How can they know how to treat a man? How can they, and then you have this movement, right? This influential movement, second wave feminism, come about in the middle of the civil rights era, right? Where all your mothers and sisters and aunts, right, and grandmothers, etc., are jumping on board and saying, yeah, we can be sluts. Yeah, we can be empowered through sexualization, right? Like, what? What? Like, how is that empowering and not objectifying? Like, women, it's just this big mind fuck, right? But again, it's not to say that that they're all like this, because there has to be many women who just say, you know what, I just want a husband. I just want love, and whether he works or I work, I don't care. I just want a nice little house. Go to your neighborhood, go to your suburbs, and walk around like these houses are occupied by somebody. These houses are now. Maybe you could argue and say, well, women might have a slut phase, but they'll eventually grow up, right? And this is what I hear a lot. And so there's a problem with that as well. The problem is that encourages women as kind of a caveat to young women, as kind of a caveat to, hey, you got 10 years from the time you're 18 to 28. You don't need to get married right away. Just go have a bunch of sex. Like, well, okay. Like, maybe, but there's a lot of pitfalls, man. There's a lot of damage that can be done. And then what's going to happen is your husband or the guy you love in the future is going to inherit all your baggage. And he's going to have to pick up all the pieces. If you got STDs, he's going to get those. If you're going to have kids that you might have kids out of wedlock, he's got to raise those kids that aren't his, right? You might have emotional damage, mental damage from bad relationships, right? You might have got abused physically or otherwise, and that's going to stick with you for the rest of your life. Those things stick with you. Some things you just can't take back, right? Which is why I say, we need traditionalism. We need to go back to, that where find love at a young age, if you can. Now, here's the catch-22 is sex is fun. Sex is great. Like, it's hot. It's sexy. It's naughty, right? It's like, but you have to question, is it worth it? And there's so many things to it, man. So this whole, you know, and again, you can't pair bond. Like, the more partners you have, I see you have more than 5 partners, women just aren't able to pair bond. So they really just end up settling for a guy who's got money, settling for a guy who will take care of them financially. You know, this is what I see a lot. This is what we see in the red pill community. This is what we talk about in the red pill community. And how is that love? How can you really say, yeah, I've got love? You know, I love my man. I love, like, maybe you can have your fun and have your cake and eat it too. Maybe. But chances are there's going to be damage. You know, some of the best sex I ever had was with really damaged women. Right? Women who really just, yeah, the sex was great. Yeah, man. They were great in bed, but fucked up, you know. Couldn't love me, weren't able to, you know, were selfish, narcissistic. There's just